topic of this video was voted for by our fantastic patrons, who clearly have exquisite taste. Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck tech brought to you by Affinity for Commander. My name is Alex and today we're going to be examining Martin's Feldon of the Third Path Reanimator deck. With his upcoming reprint in Commander 2019, now seems like the perfect time for this particular artificer to get some much deserved attention. If you like the look of this deck and want to see the full deck list, then be sure to check out the link in the description below. And if you decide to purchase any of the cards you see here for yourself, be sure to do it through the deck list link below. It won't cost you anything extra and it really helps out the channel a lot. Now let's get down to business. In this video we're going to be looking at the commander himself, reanimation targets, discard effects, ramp, support, and finally alternative routes and upgrades. So firstly, the commander. Feldon of the Third Path is a 2/3 legendary creature human artificer for 1 generic and 2 red mana. He reads, 2 generic and 1 red mana, tap, put a token onto the battlefield that is a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except it is an artifact in addition to its other types, it gains haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. The first thing to notice about our Sad Santa's ability is that, unlike most other reanimation effects, Feldon makes a copy of the original creature without exiling it as part of the cost. This means that you can create copies of the same creature every single turn. These tokens will then get sacrificed during our end step, so we can take advantage of any sweet dying triggers that they might have. So what creatures are we looking to bring back? Targets for this deck need to be high impact and high value. Combustible Gearhawk either lets us draw 3 or an opponent gamble, potentially taking a huge amount of damage from milling some high CMC cards. Scuttling Doom Engine and Spite Bellows can be used to gain some quick damage, and then when they die deal a further 6 damage to an opponent or creature. Or if artifacts are giving us bother, Wild Celebrants and Ingot Chewer are perfect spot removal, with the added benefit of being attached to a creature that can swing in for some cheeky damage. But dealing damage with our own creatures is still out of vogue, so let's get our opponent's creatures in on the mix. Molten Primordial, Zealous Conscripts, and Conquering Manticore all allow us to steal our opponent's best creatures, removing their blockers and providing us with some additional bodies to strengthen our forces. But beyond stealing problematic creatures, we might actually have to remove them, and since we're in mono red, we're going to have our creatures serve as our removal too. Duplicant can exile any problematic creatures, and Meteor Golem can get rid of any problematic, well, anything other than lands really. And as long as our creatures stay in the grave, they can be brought back again and again whenever their services are needed. But we can definitely go bigger, because nothing says fun and interactive magic like a hasty Eldrazi with Annihilator as early as turn 3, just as Richard Garfield intended. Pathrazer of Ulamog, Artisan of Kozilek, It That Betrays, even the new Eldrazi Titans are good for some damage, or in the case of Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, exiling a 5th of your opponent's library. All of these cards are devastating to not only give haste to, but to cheat out early, and for only 3 mana. It That Betrays also has the added bonus of helping you amass a board state by stealing all of your opponent's sacrificed permanents. Quick tip! Don't use Birthing Pod when your opponent has an It That Betrays out. Learn that one the hard way. Now that we've got our reanimation targets sorted, we need ways of pitching them to the grave, something red is very good at. Tormenting Voice, Wild Guess, Cathartic Reunion, Faithless Looting to trigger any modern players, and Wheel of Fortune. Sorry, Magus of the Wheel, much better. Normally rummaging isn't great, but when we want our cards to be in the grave, we are essentially drawing more cards and giving our commander a ton of options for later in the game. But with us not caring what cards we discard, even the random effects can be great here. Burning Inquiry is not only a card that fills your graveyard, but also makes your opponents deeply hate you when you discard 2 out of 3 lands in their hands before they even had a turn. And Gamble. Tutor up whatever you want. If it goes to the grave, great. If not, you can pitch it later, or you've probably discarded a Worm Coil engine for cost or something equally broken. Outside of instants and sorceries, planeswalkers such as Charger Flamecaller, Doretti, Scrapped Savant, and Tybalt the Fiendblooded work well to get our big bombs out of our hand to be reanimated later. As well as Charger's Zero ability just being fantastic to get through our deck, and her -X can function as a one-sided board wipe in case a token player decides to get fresh with Feldon. And no, you did hear me correctly, I said Tybalt the mother flippin' fiend-blooded. We get to draw and discard, most likely a big boy. And his -6 is surprisingly solid win the game ability by stealing almost everyone's creatures to clock someone out of the game. Now, let's get one thing straight. The second the table sees you dome someone for 10 plus damage with one creature, they'll be dropping their removal on Feldon like it's going out of style. So both Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves are definitely recommended to stop any targeted removal of our commander. He is but a wee 2/3 with no evasion after all. With our commander now having some protection, we can look at ways to abuse his ability. Some excellent cards to do this are Illusionist's Braces to double up our reanimation triggers, 1000-year Elixir for some unexpected haste, and once again doubling up on the tokens we produce by untapping Feldon for round 2. And finally the perfect filth for this deck that is Sundial of the Infinite. This allows us to dodge the end of turn sacrifice trigger by activating the dial with the trigger on the stack, allowing us to keep our animatronic creatures forever. And should our plan fail, we'll need ways of clearing the board to keep ourselves safe. Blasphemous Act, Chain Reaction and Nevinyrral's Disc are always useful to remove our opponent's pesky creatures. Or if the table decides to kill Feldon, then an All Is Dust is definitely welcome in a deck that's almost half colorless spells. In fact, I would advise running a good number of board wipes. Feldon doesn't use up any graveyard resources, so wiping the board is definitely going to set back your opponents further than you. The deck's main strategy is fairly simple. Pitch big thing, play Feldon, reanimate big thing, hit anyone that looks at you funny. But there will be times where Feldon isn't around to help you, and you need to look at other ways of winning the game. Artifacts such as Worn Power Stone, Thran Dynamo, Everflowing Chalice, Mind Stone and Commander Sphere can be used to ramp into our big creatures, which are going to be big threats regardless of how they enter the battlefield. But since our entire ramp package is susceptible to one Baney Boy or well-timed Vandal Blast, we should be playing our ramp with utility as well. Mind Stone and Commander Sphere can sack themselves to draw cards, but so can cards like Hedron Archive and Dreamstone Hedron, thus enabling us to not be caught too short when our mana is blown up. If beating your opponents to death with giant tentacle monstrosities isn't your style, then one alternative that may interest you is Robotic Dragons. Hellkite Tyrant can steal all your opponent's artifacts, Uvara Hellkite lets us make dragon tokens that can advance our board state or just keep up for blockers, and finally Balefire Dragon, which should pretty much wipe your opponent's board with its damage trigger. Or if you're looking to get more value out of your recursions, we can use Etali Primal Storm, which lets us cast the top card of each player's library for free on attack. Another card I want to give particular mention to is Ilhag the Razeboar. A 6/6 with Trample is pretty tame compared to some other stuff in this deck, but when our animatronic copy of the Boar God attacks, you get to cheat out any of the other massive creatures we've still got in hand. At the beginning of the turn, you had a 2/3 Old Man. Now you've got a Robo Pig and a massive Flying Dragon barreling towards your opponent because they decided to cast Cultivate last turn instead of a creature. What a shame. Now, am I missing anything? Ahem. Oh yes, and I suppose if you really don't want to have to buy Christmas presents for any of your friends this year, Blightsteel Colossus is also a legal target. On turn 4, with Trample. Why are you a card? Overall, Feldon with the Smashy is a great commander. Being able to spread right from, I want to hit things with big dragons, right up to, take 11 infect on turn 3. And unlike some other graveyard based commanders, he doesn't use up any of the creatures he makes tokens of by exiling them. So every turn it's, here's an Ulamog, and an Ulamog again, and oh would you look at that, it's an Ulamog. He is a truly unique commander, especially in mono red. So you can look forward to taking people by surprise and teaching them that mono red can indeed have a late game. I know, it shocked me too. And that is our deck tech for Feldon of the Third Path. But what do you think about our illustrious scholar? Are there any of the cards you would include, or any beefy boys we've missed out on? Whatever your thoughts, let us know in the comments below. And if you like this type of content, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like it. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter @4commander, and if you really like us, you could consider becoming a patron of the channel yourself. Links to all are in the description, and as always, we'll see you next time.